Hey, Healing Besties, let me tell you a story. There was a season in my life where everything felt like a conflict. Conversations felt heavy, feedback felt like an attack, and silence felt loud. And I kept saying, I'm just burnt out. I said, it's stress. I said, it's just my personality. But the truth is, I wasn't burnt out. I was bleeding internally and calling it exhaustion. And here's the wild part. I was going to the gym. I was eating better. I was praying, but I was still stuck because no amount of outward discipline heals unaddressed inner chaos. But that's when God walked me through what I now call the 4 R's of conflict management. And bestie, this isn't just about conflict with people. This is about conflict within yourself, with God, and with others. So the 4 R's are recognize, review, release, and return. R number 1, recognize. Name the inner chaos. Bestie, you cannot heal what you refuse to name. Most of us are managing conflict by minimizing it. It's not that deep. I'm over it. It didn't faze me. That's just how families are. Church hurt happens. But scripture tells us something different. It says, search me, O God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. In Psalms, recognizing is inviting God into the mess without filters. And let me say this gently but clearly. Your reaction is trying to tell you where the wound lives. If you're shutting down every time there's a confrontation, if you explode over small things or avoid hard conversations, but you replay them in your head afterwards, that is not a character flaw. That is unresolved pain waving its head saying, hey, I'm still here. I'm still here. And bestie, conflict is often a symptom and not the disease. Say that one more time. Conflict is often a symptom and not the disease. So R number 2, review, trace it back to the root. And here's where most people stop. They recognize, but they don't review. Review means asking, when did I learn this response? Who taught me that silence was safer than honesty? Why does correction feel like rejection? Scripture says, let us examine our ways and test them, and let us return to the Lord in Lamentations. Notice the order. Examine first, return later. Examine first, return later. Bestie, no gym, clean eating, no new routine will heal what needs to be understood. You didn't just wake up defensive, you adapted. You didn't become passive overnight. You survived something. And conflict keeps reappearing because the root is still talking. Are you being blessed? R number 3, release. Stop carrying what was never yours. This is the hardest one. Release is where you stopped rehearsing the offense. Release is where you forgive without rewriting history. Release is where you say, this hurt me, but it won't own me. Jesus said, come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Bestie, rest doesn't come from avoidance. Rest comes from release. So release doesn't mean what they did was okay. Release doesn't mean you're pretending it didn't matter. Release means I refuse to let this pain dictate how I show up in every future relationship. See, unreleased pain, it turns into passive aggression. It turns into chronic self-sabotage or chronic conflicts or emotional exhaustion. And then we call it burnout. But let's be for real. So, our number 4, return. This is where you respond from healing and not hurt. This is where transformation, true transformation happens. Return doesn't mean going back to the toxic spaces unguarded. Return means coming back to your true self that's aligned with God. Scripture says, create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within me. Bestie, healed people still face conflict, but they don't fight from wounds. They speak clearly without exploding. They set boundaries without guilt. They disagree without self-betrayal. See, you return differently because you're no longer bleeding internally. Come on. This is what happens when you understand. So, let me say this one more time, besties. And I hope that you're still here. You're not stuck because you're lazy. You're not stagnant because you lack discipline. You're stuck because something inside you is asking to be healed and not managed. So, recognize the chaos, review the root, release the weight, and return renewed. And when you do, conflict stops being something that breaks you and it becomes something that builds you. Thanks for coming to this episode and happy healing, besties.